All right, this is JPEG to RAW, show number 172, recorded on May 17th, 2016. And tonight we're honored to have Jason Piper. Did I say it right?
Yep.
Coming to us late at night over in Northern Ireland, where it's got to be almost 20 to 2 or something like that, right, Jason?
It is, yeah. It's early.
Well, thank you, Jason, for coming over. We're going to show some of your photos here in a minute. And going through your page last night, some wonderful, wonderful work that you have over there. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got into photography and that kind of stuff, and what's your background? What's your background in photography?
Yeah, sure. I sort of got into photography years ago when I was a kid. You know, my father was always into photography. It was film back then. I got my first camera when I was 17. It was a Nikon F301.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, sort of dabbled in it at that point. Never really did an awful lot. You know, I was never very good at it. First digital camera was a Nikon D80 because I'd had a Nikon film camera. It was, you know, an obvious choice for digital.
What kind of camera was that again?
A D80.
Oh, the Nikon D80. Yeah. Was that a successor to the D70?
It was. I don't think it was as good.
my first digital camera, SLR, my digital SLR camera, was the D100, which sounds like it would come after a 70 and 80 and or 90, but actually it was before all those.
Okay.
Yes. So Nikon D80 back in the day was your first digital SLR, right?
Yeah, and I started playing around with it. Obviously, digital has huge advantages to film. You can see immediately how bad your shots are.
Right.
Sometimes how good they are. But you get that sort of instant feedback loop, right? Whereas film, it was, you know, you'd take a few photographs, you'd maybe get it processed a month or two later. And, you know, the whole learning was very, very slow if you actually learned anything from it at all. That was my experience. So I sort of dabbled in taking photographs, you know, mostly of, you know, family occasions, holidays, you know, that sort of thing. Didn't really have a particular path that I wanted to follow. Progressed through a series of cameras. So I decided the D80 was nice. Wanted a full frame, so I bought a D700. Nicer camera, although actually I was never really that happy with the D700. I could never get sort of repeatable photographs from it. Every time I would take a similar sort of scene, the camera seemed to take a different photograph.
What? The D700? That's my camera right back there. I love that camera. What was it doing for you?
So any time I would take a photograph of a particular scene, it just seemed to expose it differently each time. It was almost like it recognized it slightly differently.
Wow.
And it might have just been the sample I had.
It could be, yeah. Or it could be the sample I have.
Yeah, it's particularly good.
Yeah.
So I kept that about a year and a half. And the year that the D4 came out, I bought one of those. And actually, that's a camera I've still got. Cracking camera.
Yes.
Really like it. It's not the highest resolution, 16 meg. You know, it's pretty damn small. Mm-hmm. But I've stuck with it. I've resisted the temptation to go to mirrorless. I did really consider it last year, but I've got to the point now where, you know, I'm so familiar with the Nikon, or with the D4 specifically, that when I'm out photographing, then I don't really need to think about how to use the camera. You know, I know instantly, you know, sort of how to adjust whatever it is I want to adjust. It's just that familiar, and I didn't want to go through a whole learning experience of having to learn a whole new camera system and, you know, take a backward step in sort of what I was capturing.
And a D4 is a professional body with the portrait, you know, grip built into it and everything, right?
That's right, John.
Yeah, that's a fantastic camera. Now, you say 60 megapixels, you know, the D700 was only 12, which is, you know, what I'm shooting with. And I am feeling the effects of, I feel like, you know, 12 is just not enough anymore, which is odd to say, you know, 12, 16, that used to be a lot.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, when I bought the D4, 16 was pretty good.
And now a lot of your work is traveling. Do you find something like a D4? I mean, that's going to be a heavier body than if you went with, something that wasn't that with the built-in grip, or something that was mirrorless would be much lighter.
Yeah, and
Is that an issue?
it's heavy. I mean, it's really heavy. It's there's no getting away from it. I've looked at. I nearly bought a D810 2 or 3 times last year, just for the high res and for lightness. And it was keeping with the Nikon system, so it would still be familiar. It wasn't going to Sony and so on and so forth. But I held off on it because I'd hoped that Nikon were going to update it this year. Doesn't look like they are, so I should have bought it last year. I would have had the 36 megapixel advantage. But
Yeah, I don't know. There's rumors about, maybe an 820 or an 830, something like that coming out that's 48 or so megapixels. They just came out with the D500, which is a crop sensor at 20 megapixels, I believe. So, I mean, that's the thing with all cameras. You're just around the corner of a new camera coming out, no matter when you buy.
it's like computers, right?
It's always too soon if you buy, and it's always too far away if you're waiting.
Yeah.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
In the interim, waiting on the new Nikon, I've been looking at medium format.
Wow.
So that's definitely on the wish list. I've been looking at the Phase 1, the new IQ3 100. That's a stunning sensor.
Yeah. Yeah, for what you shoot, that would definitely come in handy. I'm more of a sports shooter, so that would not be the camera of choice. But I would love to get more into landscape, like take some shots. So, if you have any formal training background?
None whatsoever.
So all this is just you trial and error.
Well, yeah. So largely, I mean, sort of wind back in camera systems I bought. So the D4, I bought it because it was a good all-round camera. It's a good, fast focus, high frame rate, so on. Not your landscape camera at all. So a year and a half ago, I joined the Arcanum. I'd followed Trey Ratcliffe for a long time. And I remember the first time I seen one of Trey's photographs. I'd been to Malaysia. I'd taken what I thought were some reasonably good photographs. I remember seeing one of his on the internet, and I thought, Christ almighty, what camera has he got? How on earth can I take photographs like that?
Yeah.
What's wrong with my camera? So that sort of started me on that path, and I dabbled in that for quite a while. The whole HDR, Photomatics. Joined the Arcanum about a year and a half ago. Okay. And before that, I'd been on a photo walk with Trey in Dubai. It was really interesting, sort of almost inspirational, I feel like. And the Arcanum has been brilliant because it sort of forced me to meet, sort of certain set goals. So to reach those goals, I've got to get out there and photograph. So I think this year, I've taken, like 5 times the amount of photographs that I sort of did up to that point, because it was something I was interested in, but it wasn't something that I actively did week in, week out.
Yeah.
And just that whole act of getting out, photographing, seeing your results, seeing what works, see what doesn't. Like that picture there is a Burj Al Arab. Sort of certain times of the day, when you get the scenes that you like, that made a huge difference. That really sort of brought on my photography an awful lot, but also then the post-processing as well.
This image that we have here that just went off, the image with the little bridge?
Yeah, that's in Venice.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just really helped reinforce the whole sort of what works, what doesn't, and especially compositionally, what's more pleasing to the eye and what isn't. I don't really work to any particular system, sort of rule of thirds. If I worked at anything like that, it's more golden ratio. I think that looks better, if you try and line things up, along those sorts of lines.
Okay. Now, for those who don't know the Arcanum, we've had A.D. Wheeler on here before. We've had Ron Clifford on here before, and I believe there's a third person, Blake Rudis, who used to be in Arcanum also, and maybe somebody else. But you right now work with A.D. Wheeler, if I'm not mistaken, right?
That's right. Yeah, I'm in AD's cohort. Yeah.
And just in general, the Arcanum costs about $80 a month or so, right?
Yep.
And for some people that may not be a lot of money. For other people, it may be a lot of money. Either way, the fact you have to pay something is probably a little bit of a drive to actually do something with that.
Yeah.
And then having someone like AD or one of the other masters, coach you along and get you to do stuff. Shooting is practice makes perfect. You're not going to get better without practice.
Absolutely.
So how has it been working with? Have you always been with AD, or you've been with other masters?
No, I've been with other masters. So I'm in AD's Sphere 2 cohort, which is focused on sort of setting up your web presence, or your website, social media, sort of marketing yourself, writing articles, so on. My Sphere 1, which was sort of the foundation, and the first Sphere was with a different master. But it's good, so you get sort of feedback at set intervals, you get set challenges, but you also get to interact with a lot of other people as well who are as passionate or more than you are. So you learn from each other. It's a really good system, I have to say.
Okay, and I'm going to pull up your page here just in just a second. There we go. So actually, it looks like we're still on your photos, but this is your home page, and you've got your galleries here. You have a nice slideshow that when you enter, when I come on there and I see that one of the, and I had it here in the list of the bridge that has those blue lights. That is just fantastic. Lots of fantastic photos, but that one really grabs me. You also have, you've also done a number of reviews on your site. Once I get there. My system is a little bit slow as I'm doing everything. Here we go. So you do a number of reviews. Is this something that you do on a regular basis, semi-regular basis? I see your eyelid.
Yeah, it's sort of semi-regular. I need to do a few more. I've bought a few more bits and pieces that are interesting.
Okay. And your ultimate goal with having the blog and the web presence, is it just to bring views to your photos to eventually make money from this, or what is your goals there?
Yeah, so it's to bring views to my photographs, and with the intent in the sort of medium to long term of making some income from it. I'd like to make some income so I can reinvest it into travel and other gear.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you got great work and a nice site too. I like your site.
Thanks.
If it's slow here, it's because of me, not because of your site, because I'm doing so much. And looking at, you got reviews. You have here posts about your different locations you've gone to. I didn't read all of them, but I did read a couple of them. I think I read the one about the Peak, Sky Lounge, and one more. I thought there was one more I read something about. I don't see it now. Anyway, some interesting photos there, some great photos, and some interesting write-ups.
Yeah, so what I wanted to try and do was, it's always difficult when you're traveling to a new location. If you want to take some interesting photographs, to know where to go. So it's, maybe to put some locations that aren't absolutely obvious.
Yeah, and now, how do you travel to all these locations on a vacation, on business, on, how are you?
Mixture of both.
Okay. And some great locations like Dubai, Hong Kong, lots of locations all over the world. Have you ever been to America?
Yeah, I've been to America a few times. Okay. Been to New York, I think 3 times.
As Tim's up there in New York.
Yeah, I've been in New York in the middle of the winter when it was like minus 20, which wasn't much fun.
Then I don't come outside.
Been there in summer. The last time we were there was on the way to Florida. Actually, that was when I picked up the Nikon D4, and that was nice. Stayed up around Soho. That was a nice area.
Okay, yes.
Good. And so the traveling from work, traveling for wherever gives you the opportunity to go to some of these places.
Yep.
And are you preparing before you go there for, hey, when I go to Dubai, and what I've seen in Dubai, there's probably lots of places to go to and shoot. But when you go to some of these places, are you thinking about where I want to go before I get there, or once you get there, do you just walk around and find places?
And I would always, so if it's somewhere new, absolutely. I do a lot of research beforehand. So, would look on, Flickr, sites like that. Just type in name of where I'm going. So it happens to be Prague, just to see what sort of photographs people have taken. What areas people have been. To take some interesting photographs. If there's anywhere interesting to visit. Google as well. Google Maps is always quite good. You'll see different photographs there. But I think best tool I have is an app that Trey Ratcliffe released, and it's I was going to say Taken on Earth. It's not. It's Stuck on Earth.
Stuck on Earth, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I have that on my phone, on my iPad, on my computer. So I'll look through and see. Sometimes if it's out of the way locations, people haven't posted many photographs, into the community or into Flickr. So it trolls the photographs from Flickr, geolocates them and shows you there. And I find that an excellent tool.
So wait, how does this thing work? So does it use your GPS and then find photos that were within a certain range of you?
No, it doesn't use your GPS. So it uses photographs from Flickr that are geolocated.
Okay.
So it can show them on a map. So you can scroll around the world.
Okay.
You zoom into it and it'll show you different pins. And then you can filter them in different ways. But it's an excellent tool for finding some interesting locations.
Yeah. Now, I don't travel outside the U.S. very often, so this is going to be my naive question. But do you have concerns about safety in any of these locations? Especially a location maybe you haven't been to before. Sometimes a camera like a D4 could be very valuable to somebody.
Nowhere I've been, I've had any real, sort of safety concerns. Most of the places I travel to, certainly in Europe, no real issues. But any cities, got its bad areas.
Sure.
If I go into Belfast, there's certain areas that I'd be more cautious by going into than others. It's like New York or anywhere.
Yeah, anywhere.
New York's really safe. We know that.
Yeah. I'm not a big city guy, so I would not feel comfortable there. But what about local laws? Like, a lot of your work is architecture, and there was, at least here in the United States, maybe it's still going on, but for a while there was some controversy over what you could take pictures of, especially things like public works, like bridges and that kind of stuff. That they were very sensitive about you taking photos. Do you have any issues? Have you run into any issues like that anywhere?
No real issues in terms of people being sensitive about taking photographs of particular buildings, but in Dubai, they're sensitive about you using tripods anywhere, or almost anywhere.
Okay.
Let's be slightly more specific, and I sort of understood why after a while. Where in most other places you would be in a public area and you think, why on earth is it a problem to use a tripod?
Yeah.
Maybe you would be a public park. Well, there it's all privately owned developments. The developments are huge, so they feel like public spaces, but they want to tightly control, photographs that are produced of their developments. So you'll continuously get politely asked by security not to take photographs. So I generally just ignore them.
I don't know. To me, in a foreign country, somebody tells me, I'd be afraid I'd disappear. Well, you brought tripods, so let's talk about that. So we know you shoot with a D4. what is your favorite lens or lenses, and tripod and filters or anything else like that?
Favorite lens, so 14-24.
Okay.
2.8 is on my camera, I don't know, 70% of the time. Outside of that is the 24-70, would probably be, 25%, and anything else very occasionally after that.
So that's two of the Holy Trinity.
I have the third.
Okay.
The 7200 looks like new.
Well, I guess for a lot of your work, yeah, that's going to make sense. All right, so the 14-24 mainly. What about tripod? Do you shoot a lot with tripod or a lot handheld?
Almost all on tripod.
Okay.
So I've gone through a few tripods. So at the moment, for real light travel, I've got a Manfrotto B3, and it's going to get upgraded very shortly. I'm going to go for the really right stuff TQC14, just to be a bit lighter. So the B3, when you pick it up in store, it feels really light, the aluminium version.
What was the Manfrotto brand name, model number? B3?
B3.
And then
that was the Manfrotto. It was the B3.
Yeah, and then the real right stuff.
It's a TQC14.
Okay.
So it's their 1 series travel pod.
Yeah, I have behind me, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see it because it's too dark. I have a Manfrotto, but it's that heavy, it's heavy. And it's the carbon fiber. It's got the really right stuff, BH55 or whatever it is, their biggest ball head. Yeah. That thing is a monster. It's way overkill. Almost never use it because it's so heavy. So I imagine for a traveler, you already have a heavy camera, that tripod, you still want support. But the tripod weight and the ball head too. So you're saying real right stuff TQC14? What ball head are you looking at?
The 30.
The 30.
So I do have a huge Manfrotto carbon fiber tripod with the BH55 as well.
Yeah,
it does come with me sometimes. It's incredibly stable. It's incredibly heavy.
Yes.
But it does come with me. So in windy conditions, it's brilliant.
Yeah.
BH55. Excellent, can't fault it at all. And in fact, I bought the really right stuff plate to put on my Manfrotto B3.
Yep.
So I use the L bracket, and L bracket is brilliant.
I'm a big fan of really right stuff. And the last 3 cameras, I know, stuff. The last 3 cameras I bought the L bracket. I love the L bracket. I buy the grip that goes on to the camera. And if you haven't used an L bracket before, Tim, or have you? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I don't use one now.
Yeah, it allows you to put the camera onto your tripod in either orientation,
right?
Which is really nice. And if you're shooting with the 70-200, that doesn't matter because you're attaching the lens to the tripod. But on a smaller lens, so you're putting the camera on the tripod, having that L bracket, and plus it's a little extra, protection for the camera, is really nice. And I love that ball head, the real right stuff BH55, but it is so heavy. Yeah. I'm using something lighter most of the time. I keep another tripod and ball head in my truck because it's so easy to carry around. All right, any filters or anything?
The only filter I really use is 10-stop ND filter, just to get long exposures, smooth out water, clouds and stuff like that.
Right. And I notice in a lot of your photos that there's no people. As a matter of fact, I might have to pay attention to find one with people. There is one.
I don't like people.
There is one. I'm going to wait for it to come up. That I when I was looking at it last night, I was thinking I got to remember to ask him this question. So I'm going to wait for it to come up and ask you a question. The fact that there's no people in there, is that you are waiting and timing it with very little people, or are you editing out the people?
Either or. It just depends on the situation. So I like my pictures to be distraction free. For me, people are a bit of a distraction in them. Mm-hmm. So I like them to be, sort of fairly clean, from that point of view. So it's either you do a ton of work in Photoshop, take the people out, or you wait, take a series of images, and then you can clone out the different bits of people.
Yeah. And I love, this is the one I was talking about earlier, the blue, because I love blue. The blue lights on this bridge. Where was this?
That's so there's a horse racing course in Dubai. It's out of the city bit, Maidan, and during the day this looks nothing. But it's a bridge over the main highway into the circuit, and it's allegedly only for the sheikh to use.
Gorgeous.
Really? Only he's allowed to use the bridge?
Allegedly, yeah.
Wow.
But it looks
Then
fantastic.
I guess
like,
then you don't have to worry about people crossing it.
Well, no. While I was there photographing, there was I think a lorry and a couple of cars had taken the wrong exit off the highway, came along, turned around, and went back. But there was no traffic other than that, so I could walk up and down as much as I wanted.
Well, it looks like there's walking sidewalks on either side of it.
There are actually, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna scroll through and see if I can find that photo I was talking about. We'll
Is it the one of the mosque?
Nope, you're never gonna guess which one it is. Because it's now we need to get there so I don't waste any more time. I love all these, and we could spend time talking about every single one of them, and we'll come back around a few of them and talk about them. But I want to get to this one. Here we go. This one of the Apple Store. You would know it's the Apple Store. That is not my question. It's not about the Apple Store. My question about this one, it does have people in it.
It does, yeah. So there's lots of people in the store.
It definitely looks like a slow slow shutter here because you got all the motion, right?
Yeah. So this one's a composite of probably 4 or 5.
There we go. That's what I was wondering. How did you get the people to not be moving?
Yeah. So I generally will bracket, sort of 3 exposures initially. Obviously that's such a dynamic situation. You got, it's pretty much black outside.
Yeah.
You got really bright lights in the store. Camera doesn't have that much of a dynamic range, so the exposure for the store was pretty short. Froze the people. Then for the light trails of the traffic, I kept waiting for an interesting scene or interesting traffic, and I felt like I was missing it every time. So I just stayed with it. Took a number of exposures, and then in Photoshop just blended in what I wanted of the light trails.
That is fantastic. Yeah, I knew you had to have done something here. It didn't even occur to me at first that this was a composite. You did such a great job with it, but I knew something's happening to be able to blur the cars that way, but the people are all stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice job. That wasn't the one you thought.
Apple people move really slowly, isn't it?
Apple people. You said it to him, not me.
And I know you would think, but it's okay.
Yeah, the Microsoft Store, everybody be blurred.
It's just when you're trying to use Windows, you're slow.
There you go. There you go. A lot of our listeners are Apple fans, so we got to let you give it back to us some there.
And I think I was saying earlier, I was a diehard Microsoft enthusiast for years. I mean, my first PC was an 8087 running DOS, I don't know, like 3.2 or something. And I stuck with Windows as long as I could, and I eventually went across to Mac. And it was tough at the time, but you know what? It works well.
Well, our troubles tonight did not have anything to do with Windows per se. It had to do with Skype, which is owned by Microsoft. But anyway, both systems are good, and I know a lot of photographers who use either one. And I give Tim a hard time about Sony, and other people a hard time about Canon. But the reality is there's more than one tool that I get the job done. Mm-hmm. For me, I don't need to get into more preaching about that stuff. But so talking about that one, that was composite. Of the ones that you have on your site, the ones I picked, the photos I picked, do you use HDR a lot in these, or are any of them HDR?
Do you know, as I was saying earlier, I started, started playing with the HDR to try and create the images I wanted. I could never get HDR to look the way I wanted it. Sort of like clean, pure colors. It always gave me a really gritty, grainy sort of photograph, and I spent a long time, a lot of frustration, trying to get the image that I had in my head. And I rarely use HDR at all now. In terms of a tool like Photomatics.
Yeah.
So all of the other images are almost without exception, they're single exposures.
Wow.
So I'll do a lot of adjustments in Lightroom, to create the image I want. If I really can't, sort of get the image to come in the way I want. If it is just too dynamic, then I'll bring a couple of exposures into Photoshop and just mask in the bits I want.
Okay. And I was going to ask you about that, the editing process. So you do use both Lightroom and Photoshop. Would you say that every image eventually makes its way through to Photoshop, or do you spend most of your time there in Lightroom?
Do you know, it's probably 70-30 Lightroom. So, I mean, Lightroom is used, or I use it for cataloging or bringing all raw images in. I mean, every one of these is a raw image. It's not JPEG'd. So I bring them all in, just do the initial adjustments in Lightroom. So I mean, the general initial adjustments will be exposure, but I've normally got 3 exposures to choose from bracketing them. I'll adjust white point, black point, maybe add a bit of clarity, a bit of vibrance, saturation, set contrast, all of those sorts of things. And then if I think it really needs it, I'll take it into Photoshop and do a bit more work on it. But most of the time, I can achieve what I want in Lightroom.
Okay. I also noticed, except for the image I have up right now, a lot of these seem to be dusk or dawn type images, where the lighting's more dramatic. Are you morning or evening where you're usually shooting, or both?
It's predominantly evening, and as much as I love sunrise, it just never seems to be as magical as sunset. I mean, there should be no difference between them. Sun's going down over the same period of time it comes up, but I think things look so much nicer sunset, and you get a lot more lights on sunset as well.
Well, and you seem to be capturing blue hour a lot in these too, in some of these shots too.
Yeah,
which really I think adds to the image.
Honestly, I just love the whole tones at that sort of time, and I mean the light conditions change. I mean, literally minute by minute.
Yeah.
So like that picture there, 5 minutes later looks totally different. 5 minutes earlier looks totally different, and it's so easy to be anywhere around these scenes and not really pay attention and miss the whole magical sort of changes in the light.
Mm-hmm. And so you, like that shot we had up just a second ago, how long before that shot are you getting set up and sitting there finding your spot? Here's where I want to shoot from, and just sitting waiting for the light.
It depends. I mean, normally if I decide I want to go somewhere, like last night I went down to the Titanic building in Belfast, photographed that. I'd never been down there, so I got down there just before sunset, so 30 minutes before sunset, took a few pictures, wandered around. So normally what I'll do before it gets to the right sort of conditions I want is, if I haven't been there before, just have a bit of a scout around, look at different compositions, different angles of it. And then sort of have a fairly set plan of, as it's getting darker, where I want to shoot. And I mean, normally you've got 45 minutes at most, maybe an hour if you're really lucky, unless you want it to be totally dark. But, to capture the blues, definitely you've got sort of 45 minutes. So you've got to be pretty quick in getting maybe 5 or 6 different compositions So
And I paused on this image here because to me the lighting is what absolutely makes a shot. I imagine if I walked around this spot at noon, it would not be all that exciting.
yeah, I don't know. That's Venice, and I've, we went to Venice on vacation last year, and it's one of the cities that, for me, has lived up to and exceeded expectations. A fantastic city. I couldn't recommend it highly enough. It's amazing. I was totally blown away by it. So yeah, I think maybe that's a sort of slightly special category of city.
Yeah, but I think in
yeah,
this image, the blue hour of the background, the sky, the lighting on the bridge from that lamp is just
shadows and
yeah, just really makes that dramatic scene.
yeah.
Fantastic. So I've went through your website and all these ones, the ones I picked. Which I don't know if I got one that you would say is your favorite, and maybe they're all your babies, so they're all your favorite. But do you have an image that has special meaning to you that maybe is your favorite?
There's two you've picked. So there's, I mean, they all bring back memories of traveling to different places. So Hong Kong, I was taken on the Star Ferry, crossing Hong Kong Harbour.
That one I just closed out.
Yeah, it's gone.
That one, I'm
It
sorry.
was
That,
special.
sorry, I can go back to that one. That one was one of your favorites.
So it's they all bring back different memories, different experiences. But there's, I think, two you've picked that I really like. I'm really pleased with. So one is it's the real dramatic sunset in Dubai. So let's just wait for it to cycle through.
Yeah, and I actually thought I paused that. So
Well, that's good that it wasn't.
we'll let that
I like
cycle
that
through.
photo right there of all those skyscrapers. Was that in Dubai also?
Yeah.
Go back to that one. Yeah, that one is you can't see where my mouse is pointing, but the architecture is incredible over there. The twisty building,
Beautiful. Yeah, I like that.
They've got some stunning buildings. So
Yeah.
that's the marina area. So it's not the sort of downtown. It's not where the Burj Khalifa is or any of the other buildings. And for me, it's a nicer area of the city.
Okay, what would you say the other one was? I can kind of fast forward to it.
It's there's lots of reds, so it's a long exposure sunset.
Long exposure. Oh yeah. I think I had it. This one.
That one, yeah.
Yeah.
I really like that one, and that was it was. You can see the sun's just behind the buildings there. I had the 10-stop filter on, so it was a really long exposure. It was like 3 minutes, something like that. So you've got the dramatic movement in the clouds. You've got the water, sort of loses its reflection. So it looks really matte.
Now, that's the world's tallest building in there, right?
Yep.
That's just crazy.
Wait, this is Dubai also?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fantastic.
That building's like 3 times taller than the tallest building in New York, and we got some pretty tall
You
buildings.
do, yeah. That is incredible. They've done some incredible work over there. Really have converted their economy. So you mentioned that Venice was exceeded expectations. That was just a fantastic place. Is that maybe right now at least your favorite place to visit, or maybe Dubai, or any other place, as far as photography goes?
Yeah, I think for sort of opportunities, you can photograph in a fairly compact place. Venice was excellent. It was just totally different. You hardly seen a car, so it was all canals. Everything was done on a boat, and it was brilliant. And the food's good as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, any place that well, I'll get to that in a second. Any interesting stories? You've gone on out in all these different places. Anything interesting ever happened to you? Interesting or scary? Let's say that.
God, that's a good question. I'm trying to think. I mean, if you're wandering around, so like Hong Kong, I mean, I wander around for hours after sunset, and sometimes you sort of end up in places where you think, maybe this isn't the best place to be, so let's backtrack a bit.
I've seen this place on a movie.
Yeah. And I think it's just, I love being out really early in the morning, where you see, sort of a totally different way of life here. So you see people setting up, you see, sort of local markets and that sort of thing. I think that's a really good experience. In certain countries, like in the Far East, you see some really interesting things in the local markets. Things that you might not want to try to eat.
That's right. Well, good. So we're actually, believe it or not, we're getting closer on the hour. So something we have started here recently is called What's in Your Bag? And so if you don't mind sharing what's in your camera bag and with us, and I'll feature you. Let me move over to just having you as a shot here. And then you can show us. Eventually I'll get there.
That's a nice picture anyway.
That'll hold us until we get there. Where is that shot? Here we go. Okay.
All right. So it's in my bag. So
there it is.
It's the weapon of choice. So it's got the 1424 on it right at the moment, with the really right stuff L bracket.
That is a massive lens. 1424. You think about, most wide angle. Something 1424 is going to be small, but look at that front element on that thing. That thing is massive.
Yeah. What's the lens on that? The filter size?
You can't take a filter, can it?
You can't put one on there, right?
Because
yeah. It's got a
wow.
You can sort of lead to a sort of filter system that will screw onto the actual front element of the lens. It's expensive, and you've got to use expensive filters. And I've looked at it 2 or 3 times, and I just couldn't justify the money on it.
Sure, yeah.
But I did recently look at some Zeiss Otis lenses. So I looked at their 28mm, and it's about the same size as that.
Okay. All right.
But I haven't purchased one of those yet. Next one is 2470.
2470. That's
So I said that was my second favorite lens. And so this is the non-VR version. So they recently brought out a VR version of it.
of the 2470. Yeah.
Yeah. So this does everything I need it to. I've never really needed VR on it. It's got same filter size as the 7200, so it's 77mm. So if I've got a filter that'll go in this, I'll go in the 7200.
Okay.
And yeah, that's I like that lens. I mean, again, it's not just a size comparison with the 1424. It's not a small lens at all.
No.
So you stick that on, and it's a heavy camera, big camera to carry around. Let's see what's next. Portable hard drive.
Okay.
So if I'm traveling, I'll put all my images on Lightroom. I won't format cards, and then when I'm done, I'll also export the Lightroom catalog, or the portion of the Lightroom catalog onto portable hard drive, just so I've got 3 copies of everything. Then when I get back home, I use a desktop system, and will import the catalog into my main master catalog. So that's always handy. And I always run out of room on my hard drive as well.
Yeah, no, those raw files, even 60 megapixels, which is not small. Those raw files will eat up your storage space pretty fast.
Yeah, and that's when I've been looking at this change to medium format and the 100 megapixel. So they're scary sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a new gadget. This is a Loom Cube.
Loom Cube.
Oh, I heard about that the other day. That's very small, waterproof, very, very bright.
Yeah. So it's metal enclosure. Really bright, 1,500 lumens, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, you can see the size of it. Waterproof to 30 meters, rechargeable, and you can you can allegedly use it as a slave flash as well. So it's got a strobe mode on it.
That's pretty cool.
And it's got a small opto sensor.
Yeah.
So you can use one controllable by Bluetooth from your phone as well.
Nice.
So I bought a couple of those to play around with.
Loom Cube.
Yeah, I actually saved. I'm finding it now. I saved it to my Amazon wish list the other day. So
I'm gonna have to go look at that too.
Yeah, definitely. Then camera strap.
Which camera strap do you use?
I used the Peak Design slide.
Okay.
So what I really like is the system for attaching it to the camera. For taking it on and off. So for years I used the standard Nikon strap. It comes with a camera. I mean it sort of serves a function.
So so a lot of us use the Black Rapids, but that attaches to the tripod mount.
Yeah.
Which, if you're a heavy tripod user, that's gonna be a real problem.
Or if you've got an L bracket on, which attaches to the tripod mount.
Yeah.
So what I like about that actually is, so you attach these things into the strap loops on the camera.
Okay.
And then they just click in place. So you just click that in place. And then just to take it off.
That's nice and easy.
yeah, really.
Yeah. And it's adjustable as well. So if I want to just put it over my shoulder, so you've got this clasp here. So you just shorten it up a bit. Click that down like that. Put the strap over your shoulder. If you want it longer, you can actually put it cross body. So it's really easy to adjust, and a lot of the time I'll actually take it off if I'm using a tripod. Take the strap off completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once it's on a tripod, just getting in the way.
Yeah.
Especially if I was just looking at the video of it from their website. I actually like that strap.
Yeah, no, that looks really fast to put on and off and adjust. And for a tripod user, that's much more convenient than dealing with a Black Rapid.
Yeah, I looked at the Black Rapid a number of times, and I thought it was a really good concept, but just I wasn't quite sold on it. Let me see, what else have I got here? So cable release.
Yeah.
It's not essential for doing long exposures or.
But you can use a timer and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, if I'm taking multiple exposures, I think probably 90% of the time I'll use the timer function in the camera, just because it's pretty quick, and it means that you don't have to carry something extra attached to the camera, worry about it getting caught and so on. Once you go over 30 seconds, then obviously you're beat as far as the timer in camera. So I'll either use that or...
Is that a Nikon brand or another brand, or what brand is that?
Yeah, it's Nikon, so it's their MC30.
Okay.
None of their stuff's particularly cheap, although that one, I don't think that was too expensive. I think it was probably in the order of $50.
Nobody's going to be able to see this, but I have the NC20.
Okay.
MC, I said NC. MC20.
Then if I want to do longer exposures, I'll use the MC36. He's just looking at the back of it.
Wow, look at that thing.
So that'll do, so it's got a display on it.
2 minutes? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that was actually the last exposure I took on it. So you can do multiple exposures, so you can do time lapses on it and all the rest. So I just use it for anything longer than 30 seconds.
Okay.
So I can set the time in there, hit start on it. You can set a delay in as well. So if I'm on a tripod which isn't that sturdy, actually let me see. I've got the it doesn't actually go in my camera bag, but it's normally hanging off my camera bag. So that's the Manfrotto. So I've got the
That's
really
nice and
light stuff.
compact. Yeah.
So that's obviously that the Manfrotto doesn't come with the really right stuff played on it, but using the L bracket was a definite necessity. I mean, it's a travel tripod. It's really light. I can't remember the exact weight of it. It feels nice and light when you've got it here, but when you're carrying it for an hour or two, you really feel the weight of it. So
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to go for something lighter. So the tripod I'm going to order shortly, the really light stuff, it's incredibly expensive. Their stuff's good, but I wish they were cheaper.
I think tripods is something that a lot of people make a mistake on, and I read this over and over again about people go out and buy the $100 tripod, then they go buy the $200 tripod, and they eventually get the $400 tripod. I kind of did it in reverse. I went straight to the $400 tripod and ended up not using it that much and came back down to something lighter. But I went cheaper when I went lighter. Sometimes, to get really light, you got to spend some money.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Anything?
I think last thing, let's see, is 10-stop filter.
10-stop filter, yes. Now, well, how do you put that on your 1424? Are you using it on the 24 to 70?
Sorry, that was a UV protector. It's a 10-stop filter.
But are you using that on the 14 to 24?
No, you can't use that. As I was saying earlier, you can use ND filters. So Lee do the big and little stopper, so 10 and 6 stop filters.
Yeah.
You get a complex mount system that'll attach to the front of the 1424, but it's big.
Expensive.
I mean, well, it's big and it's expensive, so it makes what's already a pretty big lens even bigger, so it makes it harder to carry, and I just haven't bothered.
Guess you got to be really careful with that 14 to 24. Also, make sure you don't bump into anything, because that will.
Yeah.
I know you got the lens hood on there, but still, it's
almost at the edge of the hood.
Sticking, it's sticking out.
Yeah, and you probably won't see it on the video. The front element does move in and out as you zoom in and out. I'd had it for a long time before I realized that.
Well, Jason, thank you for sharing what's in your bag. That was some interesting stuff. A couple of things there I need to go look on Amazon and see if they have it there to see if I can't get them. Especially that Lume Cube looked interesting. So thank you for that. As we start to head out, any places that you want to go travel to that you haven't been able to travel to yet, or places you've been that you can't wait to get back to?
It's a place I want to travel to. So I think there's two. So a quick one is Iceland. We've got direct flights to Iceland now, into Reykjavik, which are pretty cheap. So I definitely want to go there within the next year. It's really on the list. Place to go back to would be Venice. Place I want to see more of is Ireland. Sounds bizarre, but there's actually a few. But I think, most people are probably similar, right? Whenever you live in a certain area, you're complacent because that's where you live. You
Yeah.
want to see something
I can get there
different.
anytime. Let me see something different. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, a
So
lot of Americans, I'm one of them. Ireland's a place we would love to visit someday.
Absolutely.
It just seems gorgeous, a gorgeous place.
yeah, it is. And naturally, you've got a couple of the images you picked are from Ireland.
Okay.
Just actually, there's probably 2 drone shots as well. I bought a drone last year. It's brilliant. I love it.
Which one did you buy?
I bought the Inspire one. It's actually sat not far away from.
Yeah, I was wondering if you rented a helicopter, or now you see those kind of shots that are like that. A good chance somebody used the drone with them. They were great shots. Yeah, I love. That's why I picked them. I picked all these photos. Yeah.
But the drone's like another whole camera system in its own.
Yep.
So I'm now starting to look at, would I buy the X5 camera? Would I buy the X5 RAW? Then you've got lenses for that, and it's never ending.
There's never an end to people who want to take your money and you want to give it to them.
That is true.
Yeah, photography can be a very expensive hobby, which, is comes back to part of what you're looking with your blog is to help recover some of that cost. Show people your great work and drive some interest to there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I've had the link here as we showed the lower thirds. I'll show it again. But we'll have the link. I have some other links of yours too that we'll put in the show notes. So if you came in late, this is our first night streaming to Facebook Live, and it seems to be working fine. I've never seen it glitch, but I don't know if I know how to stop it. So that's going to be interesting. But if you came in late or if you had to leave early, then you're not hearing this. All the links to Jason's that I know of will be in the show notes. You can get the full show there. And the best way to get the show is the full show outside of Facebook here is to subscribe. And you can subscribe either on for video, iTunes, YouTube, Vimeo. For audio, you can do it on Stitcher, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, iTunes, Podomatic, Podbean, and Google Play Music. And now, Tim, we have, let's see where I can get this. We have the JPEG to RAW Android app.
Yes, we do.
Where you have the I'm showing right now the video. These are the video feeds. So the Android in the Google Play Store, the Android app. And this is the proper way to hold this thing, right? And we also have, it was actually first, that same thing over on iTunes. So you can get both the video feed, which is coming from YouTube, and you can get the audio feed if you want to do it that way, through the Android or through the iTunes app. So when this show goes live, and usually is on YouTube first. When we put this out on YouTube in a few days, you'll see it in the app, either Android or iOS. First, you can also get us through all those other ways I said before. Like I mentioned, we're doing this live on Facebook for the first time. We'd love to have you come out to our Facebook group and join us over there, which is just search for JPEG to RAW once you get on Facebook. We have several different groups there. The most active one is just the one that says JPEG to RAW. That is the place to go. We have a monthly photo contest in our group there. And at the end of the year, at least, if not more often, we do a contest where we give away prizes and that kind of stuff. Those are all funded by people using our Amazon link. So if you're going to buy something from Amazon, no matter if it's going to be photography related or not, if you're going to go on later and buy that, what was that thing called? A LumaCube?
LumaCube.
LumaCube.
Yep.
If you're going to go buy that, before you go there, type in jpeg2raw.com/Amazon. Then you go right there. We get a small credit. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and we use that at all those funds to give back through prizes and giveaways. Same thing with Topaz Labs. If you're going to buy any of their products, go to jpeg2raw.com/Topaz Labs before you go there. And the place that I mention this every show, and it's just not getting anywhere, Tim. But I'm not going to give up. Is the forums. jpeg.raw.com/forums. Back when Jason and I booked this show, I immediately went out into the forums and the calendar function there, put it on the calendar, put the links to his website, and so you could be up to speed on who is Jason. You see, we're doing a show on Jason. Who's Jason? There you go. You go to the forums, you see when he's coming on, you see the link to his website. All that stuff is out there for you to do it. Plus, it's forums. You can post photos and do all other kind of stuff there. We'd love to have you join over in the forums. Join me. I'm getting lonely over there. That's all I had. If you're watching us on YouTube later, subscribe if you made it to this far into the show. And we'll see you next week. We're back next week with a reschedule of our guest on Riley Brandt. What was he was doing alternative software. I think we're going to talk about Darktable, which is an open source software for competitor to Lightroom. So we're going to be talking about that next week. He had an emergency situation a couple weeks ago, and he's back, and we're going to talk to us next week. So next week, be sure to join us, probably back here on Facebook if this worked out all right. We'll see you then. Until then, keep it raw. Good night, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Thanks.